Hello and welcome to episode number 79 of the RDO podcast with the VK bros, Alex and Jason Boncannell. How are you this morning, Alex?
I'm good. You might be asking about why we have the new furniture, the new set, and it's because I'm moving house this weekend, and the place we're moving into is way smaller than the place that we're currently in. It's way smaller on the inside. It's got much more space on the outside, which is cool. We're going to have a cool little outdoor area, but we've just commandeered this this table and put in the comments if you like this setup a little bit better than the automotive themed tyres and piece of marble that I found upstairs.
Yeah, well, we've obviously dropped the class back a little bit because we've gone from a marble tabletop to a regular old faux wood tabletop. Congratulations on finding a place. I know it was a little bit tough trying to find a residence at the moment.
Yeah, it was a bit of a struggle. Like every single joint you went to, there was like 20 people outside. I think most people are getting kicked out of their places because you can only jack the rent up to current tenants by a certain percentage. But if you kick them out and relist it at whatever price you want.
Yeah, I get you. You can set whatever price you like.
There's a place directly across the road from the place we're currently in, and that I think is like $80 a week overpriced.
Wow.
And it is sitting there, like it hasn't been rented yet, but I think people are just having a go, and why not? Got the opportunity, have a go.
Yeah, make hay while the sun shines, right? So look, we've got a lot to talk about today. Now, a couple of things I just want to throw out there. Obviously, last week was a bit of a shorter podcast for reasons out of our control, unfortunately. Thanks to everyone who dropped in. We had 3 new subscribers from last week's episode. So, guys, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And obviously, anyone else who is sitting here watching this who hasn't yet subscribed on YouTube or any of the audio platforms, please do. It really helps the channel out.
Would love to see, I would love to see by June, or should we say by the end of the year, I'd love to see 100 subscribers on YouTube. So if there's anyone that's in your network that you think might benefit, send it to them, ask them to subscribe.
Yep.
Hey, it's free, who cares?
Yeah, exactly right. It helps the channel out. And look, obviously 3 in 1 week's pretty good. We are building a little bit as well. So I think we're up to, 72 subscribers at the moment, but the more the merrier. Yeah. Also, feel free to join in the comments below. We obviously want to promote discussion. I did update our blurb, because obviously this channel has evolved a fair bit since we first started it. So I wanted the blurb to actually reflect how it has evolved during that period of time. And one of the biggest things that we do want to encourage with this channel, because we do talk about a lot of the subjects that the mainstream media refuses to talk about, or the corporate media refuses to talk about, but we want to promote conversation and debate between differing opinions. Differing opinions are good. That's what we want. Everyone has differing opinions. We don't want to live in a world where you're only allowed to have one opinion. And unfortunately, it appears that we're on our way towards that. We want to be one of those places where that isn't the case. We want to have real, rational conversations between differing opinions, because at the end of the day, the only way that any of us get better or get closer to the truth is by actually having conversations with people outside our own echo chambers. So,
yeah, and not just talking, but listening, I think is a big part. Yeah. Try to have a conversation with the mindset to understand what the person is trying to get across, and ask questions, and don't just listen to respond, listen to understand. That's huge.
Yeah. Cool. I just want to start off with some personal news this week. My wife and I got some unfortunate news yesterday so my wife's pregnant, very heavily pregnant. She's about 35 weeks at the moment, and she got a phone call from the hospital yesterday because one of her blood test results from this week has tested positive for a virus called CMV, which is Cytomegalovirus. Now, in normal adults, it's no biggie. I think like 50% of the country has it.
Right.
And when you do get it, it kind of comes across like flu-like symptoms. So for a few weeks, she sort of thought she had COVID, but she didn't, had all the tests and stuff like that, no COVID. Where you have dramas is in pregnant women with the fetus. If the fetus gets infected with this CMV, it can cause birth defects.
Yeah, right.
Which is obviously pretty heavy.
Yeah, very heavy.
So now it's only like 1 in 10 children that get it actually go on to have any serious birth defects. And really what it comes down to is how early into the pregnancy Amanda actually got it. We're hoping that she only got it a couple of weeks ago, which is when she started feeling way worse. And all of the developmental scans and everything we've had up until that period of time have been really positive, really good. Sort of no signs of dramas before that. So we've taken some more tests yesterday. We're booked in on Wednesday for another ultrasound to actually check the baby out. Now, this is one of those really disgusting things that's happening at the moment in that I won't be allowed to attend that ultrasound at the hospital.
Right.
Because I'm not vaccinated. And that's really frustrating.
Have you been definitively told that you cannot be there?
Yeah.
Okay.
When the hospital called us to confirm the booking yesterday, we asked the question on speakerphone and they've uncategorically said I'm not allowed to attend.
Because I spoke to a friend yesterday who went to a hospital to see some specialists and never came up.
They went themselves as the patient.
As the patient.
That's different.
Okay.
So if you're the patient, you can go in. They can't refuse you. If you're a visitor, they can, and they are. Now, when it comes to the actual birth and death situations are different. So if you're the support person, then you're allowed in. But because this is just a test, I'm not allowed in, which is very frustrating considering we've got the prevalence of things like rat tests and stuff like that now, where I could test negative to the virus and still be declined entry into the hospital.
It makes no sense.
It's absolute nonsense.
Makes no sense.
It's making a bad decision worse. And ironically, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's pregnant at the moment a few days ago, and we were talking about how, because this is our second child of the pandemic, and Nate was born, I've said this a million times before on the pod, but Nate was born on the day that the first case of COVID was at the Gold Coast Hospital.
Which I noticed they celebrated the 28th as the day. And I was like, no, it was definitely the 26th.
Yeah, right. There you go. Yeah, so that's a bit strange. But anyway, maybe they just didn't want to have it on Australia Day or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, who knows. But
I mean,
anyway.
it would seem a bit crazy to change the facts to fit a particular narrative.
They would never do that. They would never do that. But what's been frustrating is in that first 12 months after Nate was born, which is obviously when the pandemic first kicked off, we were a little bit, not complaining, but we were pretty upset at the lack of medical care we were able to receive for Nate when he got sick in that first period of time. And I get it. You know, you had doctors and staff who we didn't know what COVID really was. Sure. There were no vaccines at that point, so they couldn't protect themselves. We didn't know what treatments were available. So there was a lot of fear driving those decisions.
Yeah.
And the frustrating thing for me during that time is it's like the justification for doctors not seeing patients was if the doctors get sick and they're knocked out, then they can't see anyone. It's like, okay, cool, but you're not seeing any patients anyway, so what's the difference?
Yeah, it's the same.
You're actually just being preemptive. You're doing it earlier than it would happen had you actually seen someone gotten a disease. Yeah. And no offense to doctors or nurses, because I know that you guys have had it really, really tough for the last 2 years, but is getting exposed to diseases not part of the gig? Like, are you getting into the practice, being a doctor, thinking you're never going to be exposed to a disease?
I don't think it was their choice.
Maybe not.
So, and that's why you're emotionally charged by it because you're living on the other side of it.
Yeah.
But from what I can see, and my anecdotal evidence is that this is not an individual decision.
Yeah,
this is all stuff that's been made high up.
Yeah, and which shouldn't have been made.
Agreed.
High up, and it would be like the equivalent of having firefighters who it's like, we can't expose them to fire.
Yeah, because there's a bigger fire that might be coming. So
yeah, that's right. So we're not going to expose them to the danger of this smaller fire because there might be a bigger fire coming down the track. So we're gonna save the workforce for that bigger fire. So everyone knows when you take on a job, whatever that job might be, there's a level of risk that comes with that job. I'm doing landscaping at the moment. I sent you boys a clip the other day of a massive carpet snake that I saw. And the ironic thing is in the few months that I've been doing landscaping, I haven't seen that many snakes, which means there's been heaps of snakes I haven't seen.
Yeah.
That's part of the job, right? So anyway, getting back to the point. So this conversation I was having with this friend of mine was about how there's been a frustrating lack of medical care for people who really need it during this period of time, because the only thing that any doctor, at least that we've spoken to, seems to care about is COVID. So obviously I've got a pregnant wife who was feeling very sick for like 2 weeks, she was only given phone consults by our doctor. So we've got an assigned doctor because of the pregnancy. So every test, everything gets sent back to this same doctor. She would only want to speak over the phone. Like, you've got pregnant women are supposed to get regular checkups to make sure everything's fine. Get your blood pressure tested. Ask how you're feeling. Because my wife's not a whinger, you know. She normally cops everything on the chin. So it normally takes a doctor questioning her going, okay, no, but how do you really feel about this? And then she might say, okay, I've got the symptom. Okay, cool, let's get that checked out. We haven't received that. And the concerning part, especially with this cytomegalovirus, is, like I was saying before, it depends on how early in the pregnancy that she got it. And we're hopeful that it was only in the last couple of weeks. If it was before that and we didn't even know about it and we could have known about it, that'd be pretty disappointing.
Well, I know that there are therapists out there that are no longer seeing patients that aren't vaccinated.
Wow.
And you'd think that they know the science good enough now to understand that as long as you are, you're protected.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, but we have high-risk people there. Yeah, well, are they vaccinated?
Yeah.
Why are we still using that?
Why isn't it just testing?
Yeah.
Like, if you want to gain entry into a facility or a service, and especially if you're a therapist, you've got vulnerable individuals that you are declining care.
Yeah.
What are these people going to do to themselves?
Yep.
Most people, it takes a fair bit to send them to a therapist in the first place. Yeah. And now that one person that they're trusting to rely on to help them through a really particularly tough period in their life is going to go, nah, because you didn't make a choice, the right choice, you don't get served.
My advice to my friend was, well, if they're not reading the updated science, what makes you think they're giving you a high level of care?
It's a really good point.
You know, they have not moved with the way the science has moved.
Yeah.
So you move.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a very, very good point.
So.
And look, the main reason why I wanted to bring this up, so CMV, cytomegalovirus, in the small amount of research I've done on the subject since finding out the news.
You're not supposed to do your own research.
Yeah, I know. Well, we've kind of had to because, again, our doctors haven't really told us anything about it.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, get all these tests and we got to monitor you. All right, cool. For what? Oh, well, you'll be seeing someone on Wednesday. Like, yeah, you're forced to do your own research with this stuff. And again, so the biggest frustration that I received out of this is this potentially could have been avoided because there was a key piece of information that we weren't told, we were never told throughout the entire period of this pregnancy, which is pregnant women are apparently supposed to avoid saliva and urine from toddlers because toddlers are the biggest carriers of CMV. And Nate's been going back to daycare. So clearly, it appears to us that Nate is the one who potentially has given this to Amanda. We were never told throughout the pregnancy, avoid saliva and avoid urine. You got a toddler. He's toilet training at the moment. Do you know how many times he's had accidents and pissed on Amanda's hands or something like that? And yeah, she washes her hands and all that sort of stuff because we're hygienic people. But what is frustrating, she literally does every single thing right when she's pregnant. She doesn't touch alcohol. She doesn't eat any of the foods that you're not supposed to eat. She takes Elevate even though she gets morning sickness and it makes her want to vomit because the tablets are quite big, but she takes the vitamins that you're supposed to take. She rests when she can.
She would have done the right thing if she had known.
Exactly. Yeah. Had she been told what to do, she would have done that. She's done everything right as far as COVID goes. Both of us have avoided COVID the entire pandemic, especially while she's been pregnant, because we've done everything that you're supposed to do to avoid that stuff. So had we been told about this just key piece of information, which, again, when you look at the difference between, you'd remember a few months ago, we got all of this scare tactics about, pregnant women, if you get COVID, it can be really, really deadly for you. Yeah, okay, cool. Well, CMV's been at least known about for 60 years. Now, for a start...
I'd never heard of it.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it either. This is something that we know is out there, that we know can cause birth defects in children, and we don't even educate people about it.
Yeah.
And all we want to talk about is fucking COVID.
Yeah.
Which, again, have you guys seen anything on the news about pregnant women going to hospital and dying from COVID? No. We got the fear campaign early on, but you haven't seen anything in the data or anything reflected in the data. And I did see something on the hospital website the other day saying that COVID is not transferred from the mother to the baby. Yeah, that's on the hospital website. So I guess there's been enough studies done to show that pregnant women aren't passing COVID onto their children. Yeah. Guess what? They can pass CMV onto their children, and we don't talk about it.
So although this situation is pretty shit for you guys, the thing that you need to be really focused on is having like a positive mindset.
For sure.
Not looking for the blame.
Yeah,
Because
100%.
I think the stress is worse. Same as COVID.
I totally
stress
get
is
it.
worse than the
This is why I brought it up, because I want to give all of you guys out there the warning that we didn't have.
Yeah,
So
sure.
if you are pregnant or considering getting pregnant and you've already got a small child, please, if you're the pregnant woman, avoid contact with their saliva and with their urine as much as you possibly can. I mean, it's
just to reduce the risk.
Just to reduce your risk, exactly right. Because again, that's education, and that's what we're here. It's what we're about
And
here
this
at the
is also
RDO podcast.
Pfizer, where are you at?
Well,
Too small a number of people.
No,
Too few customers.
mate. People who are born with birth defects usually take a lot of medication.
Yeah,
If you want to be real cynical about it,
Yeah.
why would you fix something that's going to line the coffers for the next 80 years of their lifetime?
You got to work through that process now.
Of course.
Yeah.
And look, at the end of the day, we are where we're at now, and we understand that. So trying to approach this as rationally as possible, like you said, there's no point in trying to play the blame game because we can't go backwards now.
Yep.
We are where we're at. So we're booked in for that scan on Wednesday. Hopefully we get good news there. So guys, thoughts and prayers from you if you can.
Fingers
Obviously, I'm not a religious person. Any of you out there who are, pray to you, God, whoever that is. Fingers crossed everything will be okay. Look, it's 1 child out of 10 that has actual symptoms. Now, the symptoms can be... So the way that the virus has negative effects on a fetus in particular is that when the virus can infect your cells, it can stop the cells from replicating.
Right.
So that's why it can cause birth defects because things aren't developing properly.
Yeah.
So a lot of children can have like deafness issues, eyesight issues. They can actually be born with shrunken heads because their brains haven't developed enough. Like there's a lot of those sorts of defects that can happen. So that's why it matters how early into the piece that you got it, because how developed the fetus already is.
Yep.
So yeah, guys, just cross your fingers for us. But hey, I've put bets on stuff that are way worse than a 9 out of 10 chance of winning. So I think I'm hoping, and I think we'll be okay. But I just want to let you guys know because again, it's a pretty key piece of information. I think it's important to be out there.
Yeah, when you rang me during the week, I'd never heard of that thing before. And look, I know that there are 1,000 ailments that are out there, but yeah, that does seem like one of the... I feel like that should be something that's built into culture, like the don't smoke while pregnant, don't drink while pregnant. Yeah, like that to me seems it becomes part of the social fabric.
That's right.
You know, whereas this sounds like it should be too.
Yeah, and I feel like, and again, this could just be a feeling, I could be wrong in this, but I feel like one of the reasons why information being passed on like this has fallen off is because that particular virus isn't the front of mind virus right now. Oh, for sure. Because every doctor only wants to talk about COVID.
And then, well, no, again, it's not the doctors, it's the institutions around them.
But I'm sure the institutions aren't specifically saying, hey, don't talk about CMV, talk about COVID. They'd be like, if you're a doctor, you should know about who take care of pregnant women. You should know about CMV, and you should pass that information on.
Yeah, for sure.
And then go into your spiel about COVID as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, just a heads up for you guys and a bit of a warning.
So let's move to a more positive subject, which is Meta, being Facebook's parent company, getting obliterated on the stock market.
Yeah.
$230 billion drop. And if you look at the graph, it's hideous.
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
It came after an earnings call where apparently Zuckerberg was a bit probably not to the taste of the listeners, like the shareholders. And I think it's closer to related to, or two major things. One is, for the first time in history, Facebook and Instagram, or Meta's group of companies, is declining in usership. Now, Facebook has been declining for a long time.
That's right.
But Instagram has been growing, so they were able to offset one number with the other. Now, both of those assets are dropping. And look, we've spoken about it.
Yep.
The system sucks.
Yeah.
Like, they don't deserve new customers because they're doing a shit job.
There's a lot of reasons why their user base is falling off.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, the first one, especially with Facebook, is that young kids don't use it because it's where old people hang out. So that's why Facebook was declining, because there's no new users coming on.
Yep.
There's people jumping off the platform but not getting back on it. Instagram was where the kids were going until TikTok. TikTok has taken a massive chunk of the user base away.
And they deserve it too, because TikTok is actually a better user experience. And Instagram has tried so hard to copy it, but they've added steps. Yeah. Whereas, like, TikTok's just smooth. Everything runs. Now, I had all of them, but... and I truly believe that as a social experiment, these things are not going to survive. So the earnings call for the ad share, the ad revenue was very low.
Right.
Something else that came up on a page that I follow, Higgins Storm Chasing. Mm-hmm. So they've built a 300,000 follower page. Mm-hmm. They put lots of really useful content. We use it up here whenever there's a storm coming. You can get early sort of access to what's happening on that Facebook page. And they put a bit of a rant up last week where they took a screenshot of how much it would cost them, how much they'd have to pay Facebook to reach the 311,000 followers they have.
Yeah.
It's $12,000. Mm-hmm. So, think about this. I want to step this out. Mm-hmm. Facebook's business model is to provide a framework for content creators to add content, to then get users to view that content, put ads in the content to pay, where advertisers can then pay Facebook, and that's how they generate revenue. Mm-hmm. But how bad is it when now they are taxing the content creators to access their own customers?
I see this all the time with the RDO Podcast Facebook page. So I don't know if you've jumped on that recently, but we've got a COVID warning on our page for a start. So it says this page posts about COVID-19.
Right.
And I can see the difference in the analytics in even the episodes that we post up. Because we don't post a lot on Facebook because, again, you're not reaching that many people anyway, so it's half a waste of time. And I do see a difference when there's the blurb says anything about COVID or whatever. They throttle that, and they don't. I'll get it'll reach 30 people, whereas then I might put a picture up that'll reach 250 people. It'll be completely different. So they throttle it, but then they also have the gall to send you a notification going, boost this post for $15. And you can reach X amount more people, and it's like. It's exactly what you were saying. Originally, Facebook, what was great about it was you could build this network, and if you posted something, every single person who followed your page would see that post. That was the point. But now you can amass a following, and unless those people actually go and visit your page, the majority of them won't see what you're posting unless you pay to boost it.
You can't have it both ways, Facebook. You can have ad revenue, or you can charge the content creators. Now, it makes sense to me to charge ad revenue. Give the content creators a piece of it to keep them engaged, because they're the only reason why you're there.
That's right.
Facebook, you are only a framework.
Yeah, you're a platform. You create no content yourself.
Exactly.
So, all the content they do create is dog shit anyway.
Yeah. So if that's your business model, why are you out there smashing those? That's dumb. Anyway, I don't want to stay too far on that. So that was one aspect of why they're really bad. I think the other reason why they took a massive hit is the ad came out for what the metaverse is going to be. It sucks.
Yeah.
And I posted up on my Facebook page. No one clicked on it. No one liked it. It's a 45-minute video.
Did anyone see it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I posted a video. A guy that I'm a big fan of, his name is Limmy. He had he had a show. He's a Scotsman. He's a hilarious skit writer. Hilarious. And he's given... his stuff's on... Netflix. You can see it. It's called Limmy's Show, Limmy, Limmy's Show, and he's since become a Twitch streamer.
Right.
And he'll just stream games, and because he's a master content creator, he frames stuff in a really interesting way. Or when stuff happens, he can just do a couple clicks and he can have it zoom in on something. It's just a higher quality stream than the average stream. So he put the ad up, and he did a stream analysing the ad, and he tore it to pieces. And a lot of the things that he said is things that I've said, like he does this whole montage at the end of like, Meta wants you to do your shopping in the metaverse. So he does this whole thing. He's like putting the gear on, nice and just rubbing his eyes, putting it back on. Hey, honey? Did you adjust the straps on this? It's not fitting right. Put it on. No, it's still so blurry. It's so blurry. Okay, right now. Okay, got it set up. Okay, get the where's the controller? I can't see. All right, I'll take it off. Where do I put the controller? Oh, it's in my hand. Okay, it's fine. Put it back down then. Okay, now Amazon. Where's Amazon? Okay, there. And now, because it's virtual reality, you walk there. And meanwhile, you could have just bought it on your phone.
Yeah.
Whilst you're on the couch watching your partner struggle to try and put the headset on. It's dumb. Now the ad literally says not like they didn't even show the real data. It says at the bottom, this is not virtual reality. The content that I was showing was some was real life.
Yeah.
And the stuff that was supposed to be in the metaverse wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just animated. And even that sucked. And like there was one small cut where the lady says something to one of her friends who's got a cup with a straw out of it, and she's waving her hands around, and there's a disclaimer on the bottom saying, don't, like, make sure you have an open area. And he's like, don't put it in the fucking ad then. Don't put a disclaimer. Don't put it in the ad.
Yeah.
Like, put it in a scenario where you need to be. And then he also talks about, oh, look at her apartment. She's in a New York apartment with this massive pad there. He's like, that's like a $10 million unit. Not everyone has got that space to be able to wave your hands around and your feet around.
Well, you don't at your new joint, by the sounds of it.
No, I don't. In the metaverse. So I think when the shareholders have seen this, I think everyone's going...
we sunk how many millions of dollars into this project, and this is what you've come up with?
$230 billion loss. And it can't be a good sign as when you've got a new product and your customer base is still leaving. And they've only got themselves to blame. They, I reckon they pissed off a lot of conservatives with all the censorship stuff.
I was going to bring that up about the declining in the user base. It gets back to that whole get woke, go broke type
100%,
thing. Like
100%. You've taken a position that you've only taken a position in America or like the Western world.
Yeah.
You don't give a shit about political turmoil in other countries. You let all of that go. But
they do. There's a lot of studies that have shown that countries that have Facebook have more political turmoil than countries that don't.
Yeah, but I think it's because or is it because
it's an algorithm-based thing?
Yeah. And then going back to tying in with what I said before, you're also there's no incentive for your content creators. Yeah. Now, we've been offered money to go to the metaverse. We've been sent a thing saying, hey, like here's extra coinage if you want to go on there. Yeah. And that will bring some people over. A lot of the content creators I follow want to do something in that space. But I'm telling you now, and Limmy told you as well, in no uncertain terms, it's dumb. Yeah. Or in his words, it's fucking shite.
Well, yeah, like, so we have...
It's $250 million worse than what people thought.
And that's what people thought initially. They haven't even seen the product yet. Yeah. Like, and if that product comes out and it is exactly as
it looks,
it'll be even worse then. It's interesting. So you're right. We've been offered to go to the metaverse. We've been offered to host our podcast on Facebook. Fuck that. Like, Facebook's it's a dying company.
And what we did do during the week, what you did, is got us on to podcasting 2.0.
Yes.
Which I'll try and summarise. There is a movement out there. Sorry, there's the problem. The problem is companies, large companies, big tech companies are trying to own podcasts because they realise that they're valuable. Yep. They're valuable to advertisers. It's a valuable message to get across. Everyone knows Joe Rogan's deal, $100 million. His isn't even the biggest one. There's people that have paid $150 million to get licensed to these Spotify's, YouTube's, these large tech companies. Yep. Now, where that becomes a problem is when they start repackaging they're like, oh, okay, I like your podcast, but can you just do a little bit of this? Or can you just remove a little bit of...
This will segue us into the Joe Rogan thing, which I don't really want to talk about too much because everyone's doing it to death. And to me, it's just distraction anyway. But what the problem is Rogan's podcast is the biggest podcast on the planet. And then he did an exclusive deal with Spotify. And the only reason why he even did that deal in the first place was because he was getting censored on YouTube and other platforms. And part of the terms of the deal with Spotify was, I will come on with you, I'll give you exclusive licensing rights to the content, but I'll be given the freedom to do whatever it is that I want to do. And then he's largely been doing that. Now, you've got a lot of stakeholders in Spotify who are starting to get concerned because they don't like a lot of the content that's been created. And the whole reason why podcasts are enjoyable in the first place is because it's one of the last bastions of real free speech there is left.
Yeah.
And that's being crumbled at the moment.
It's not crumbled, it's swallowed up. And this is... So you've moved from a decentralized system where anyone who had a phone or a microphone could create a podcast and put it just about anywhere they want for free, and we could all access it. That is the idea of podcasts. That's what it should be. But the problem is you've got Apple, Spotify trying to put a paywall or advertising money added to it. And when you add that money element to it, well, sometimes if it's not going the way that the person with the money wants,
that's right,
then they'll ask to change it.
Yeah, they'll exert influence on the product.
Exactly. So that is a bad thing. Adam Curry, the podfather, the guy who invented podcasting, has seen this. He was an ad man. Yeah. He actually had started companies, Vimeo back in the day, that was about algoizing ads for content. But he's since realised it's a bad system. Yeah. It only leads to censorship eventually. Because when the loudest 1% on one side starts screaming, well then you have to make a change that you probably should never have made. And it takes away from the whole reason why you got popular in the first place. Yep. So he started Podcast Index. The Podcast Index is where all our podcasts, and anyone's podcast that you want, you can put it on there. It's immutable. It's there. Donations are supporting the infrastructure to hold those podcasts on there, and it can never be censored, and anyone can have access to it for free. Okay, and we've been talking about it for a while, but it's not as slick a system as what the paid networks are. So the paid networks, a couple of clicks, and it does, it distributes it much easier than what this one was. But we are on that now. Now the other beautiful thing that he's trying to do out of podcasting 2.0 is he wants to encourage app developers to create better versions of ads. So Spotify, I hate. The system sucks. I've talked about all the problems that I've had before. I don't think I've mentioned it on the podcast. So
I'm pretty sure you've mentioned it on the podcast.
Just the fact that the video sometimes the real estate on your phone to touch to make the controls go away is too small. The controls stay on for too long. It does this dumb thing when I'm moving between watching it on my device or casting it to my TV or getting into the car, where it sometimes doubles up the music and then I can't switch it off. It's just a bad system. Same when we upload. Spotify is a harder one for us to upload. Yeah,
it's ironic because Spotify's whole goal is to own anything audio. Like they want to be they want to have a monopoly on audio-based entertainment. Music, podcasts, whatever. Anything audio-based, Spotify wants to have a monopoly on it. And yet, Spotify will not allow me to upload podcasts at an MP4. I have to actually make the audio quality worse, make it an MP3, otherwise they bounce the feed.
It's exactly. So that is insane, right? So that is a bad company that should not be the bastion for the audio platforms. They should not be the owner of the whole audio platform. It sucks. So Adam Curry is massive on decentralization. Okay, so let's have all these companies out here, all these developers, make something slick. Any data that you need, we'll give it to you. We'll give it to you for free. Keep everything open source. And how do you move away from the ad model? Well, he's got a really cool one that we've played with. We're at the start of. Where using cryptocurrency, you can actually attach your Bitcoin wallet to the app, and we as creators have our wallet attached, and you can set a certain amount of Satoshis per minute to siphon through to pay us.
Yeah.
Right? So if you saw something that you thought was valuable, you can say, hey, how is one Satoshi? And that's cents or fractions of a cent, right? That's sent seamlessly, no receipt, it's just smooth, right?
Yep.
No ads. We won't need any ads.
Yeah.
And the other beauty of that too is there's no middleman.
Yeah.
If you think it's good, pay for it.
Yep.
If you don't think it's good, don't pay for it. And the other thing too, the current subscription model, that's an ineffective model too. Imagine if you just made a phone call and every time you made a phone call, it was $5. Well, but one phone call is only 5 seconds and one phone call is 2 hours. So the 2 hour phone call, $5 is good value.
Yeah.
The 2 second phone call, it was a waste of money.
That's right.
That's what the subscription service is. So Netflix is $15 a month, whether you watch one movie or all the movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is this not a fairer way to consume content?
Yeah.
So there are other ideas out there, but we are working on it. And Jason did a really good job last week of getting us on some of those other platforms and we're having a bit of play with it. But you can go to newpodcastapps.com. You can see a list of the podcast apps there. There's some popular ones that you'll know, some Android users you'll know.
Yep.
You would have seen them there. Have a play with it. But
And if you do want to try one of these new apps, search for us. If you can't find us, can you let us know?
Yeah.
Because I've checked a few of the apps and we are on them already, which is great. And that, again, just to go over it again, the whole point of podcasting 2.0 is to preserve the value that people actually get from podcasting.
Yeah.
The entire point of podcasting, like we said, is to be an entertainment medium which is completely uncensored, which is removed from corporate influence, which is why they've become so hugely popular. And with the rise of, the Rogan deal, great for Rogan, not great for podcasting overall. Because now you're going to have...
Not great for the world.
Yeah, because now, not only, we see this whole anti-Rogan campaign at the moment where they're trying to censor him. That's a problem for a start. But also, more than that, now any podcast that becomes remotely popular, one of these companies is going to go and try to snap them up. And then what's going to happen is this. Yeah, we really like your content, but look, we've got this advertiser who doesn't really like when you talk about this, so can you just leave that bit out?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Oh, yeah, hey, great episode. Look, we're just going to cut out this section because we've got this other advertiser and they don't cop that. And then all of a sudden, the product that you fell in love with in the first place, which is the reason why it's got such a large following that it does, ends up becoming a watered-down version of a network fucking television show.
Yeah.
And guess what? No one watches network TV anymore.
Yeah,
because it sucks.
Yeah. No one watches free-to-air TV anymore, which is an ad-based model.
That's right.
We hate ads. And it is really, really, really important. Now, just quickly, the quick take on the Rogan Neil Young thing. A lot of criticism from hardcore Neil Young fans of Neil Young.
Yeah.
Because you can't go and sing about freedom.
Yeah.
And then,
he ain't exactly perfect either.
Yeah, and then say, hey, I don't want this guy to be able to speak anymore. So, pull my music, the music that he does not own, BlackRock, the investment company, owns. And it also coincides with the fact that 4 days prior to that announcement, he had switched over to Amazon.
Yeah.
And do you know he actually he did not like the quality of his music on Spotify.
Yeah, because it's MP3.
It was too compressed.
That's right. Yeah.
So he was already a hater.
Yeah.
I suppose what we're trying to say, long and short of it, there's more to these stories than what the media just tells you. If you have a look, and if you unfurl some of the layers, you'll see what the real thing is.
Yeah.
As far as I can see, he was looking for any excuse to get out of it anyway. Mm-hmm. He's done this sweet deal. Now he's in the he's more in focus. I bet you his streams have gone up.
Because probably.
Because a lot of kids got who the fuck is Neil Young?
That's right. And then they're like, oh, he sings that song I like. Yeah, okay, I'll try out some of his other stuff.
Yeah. So
but
he's just
you're right.
done
He only owns half
deal.
his catalogue anyway.
Yeah.
And the company that owns the other half of his catalogue is in bed with Amazon. So all of a sudden, they've done this sweetheart deal with Amazon, and now Neil Young's got this anti-Spotify rant. Now, look, there's a few things to this, but the first thing I'm going to say about the entire Joe Rogan situation, it's a distraction.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Here are some things that are going on in the world right now, which should be spoken about, but instead we're talking about Joe Rogan, Spotify, and Neil Young. The USA trying to start war with Russia in the Ukraine. That's number one.
Yeah. Yeah.
The COVID narrative completely falling apart.
Yeah.
That is number two. The lab leak theory being all but confirmed.
Yeah.
That is number 3. Every single government entity, both state and federal, in Australia having issues with their own independent corruption bodies.
Oh, yes, that's number one for
Right?
me, for an Australian.
Yeah.
I think that's number one.
Every single one. In the last 6 months, every state, territory, and federal have had some form of issue with their own internal corruption
How
policies.
sweet is it when you go, hey, do you guys think that we should implement an anti-corruption thing on us? And you could just go,
Nah, we don't need that.
nah. And then that's the end of it. Mm-hmm. It's done.
There was a story that broke out in New South Wales this week of apparently the New South Wales government has wasted $775 million of taxpayer money by buying inappropriate PPE for the pandemic. So I wonder whose brother or stepbrother or someone got a sweetheart handshake commercial and confidence deal to receive $775 million for PPE that was not suitable to protect the stuff. So okay.
Got
Then
P-E-E.
Yeah.
E-E.
Meanwhile, what else you got going on around the world? You've got the Canadian trucker convoy.
Well, no one's seen that.
No one is seeing that on TV. That's been going on for almost 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
There's somewhere now, I've heard large numbers. The largest number that you hear all the time is 50,000. It's probably not going to be 50,000 trucks, who knows. But it's at least thousands of trucks have converged on Ottawa, and meanwhile Justin Trudeau has pretended he's got COVID and gone into hiding. He's just left. He's being held up in secret somewhere with his family.
Yeah.
But so you've got that situation going
You
on.
can't do a Zoom call?
Well, no, he can't. Because he's probably hiding somewhere with a black face on.
Does the 5G transmit the COVID that he's got that he hasn't got?
Yeah, but look, that's a massive story that's going on at the moment that you're not hearing about. You've got the fact that that convoy, the entire thing they're protesting is the mandates. They're not protesting vaccinations at all. They're protesting the mandates.
They're anti-mandate.
Anti-mandate. Now, these mandates, if you look at our country, there is a massive supply chain issue that is caused at the moment. Go down the shops. Everything's more expensive and it's really hard to get stuff. That's a supply chain issue, which has largely been caused by these mandates. Every single day we get told about how our medical system is struggling under the strain of COVID. It's also struggling under the strain of mandates.
Yeah.
Because a percentage, no matter how big nor small that is, because we don't know what the real number is because the media's not going to tell you, a percentage of those workers who are ready to go aren't able to work to help people because of these mandates. So we have a COVID crisis which is being actively worsened by our government. And yet, out of all that stuff that's going on, that big picture shit, let's talk about how bad Joe Rogan is. Oh, here's another reason why Joe Rogan's so big in the news at the moment. Have you heard about everything happening in CNN in America?
No.
So CNN is one of the largest leftist news organizations in America. Now, in the last 3 to 4 months, here's just a snapshot of some things that have happened at CNN. The most recent of which, Jeff Zucker, the actual CEO, has just resigned. Now, he's claiming that he's resigning because of a relationship with a senior executive that he didn't disclose when he was supposed to. But I think there's a little bit more to it than that.
Yeah, I don't think he disclosed it to the person he was having the relationship with.
No, he did. Like, they knew all about it. She's consenting. There's no issues with anything like that. What's confusing everyone is the fact that, like, this is one of the worst kept secrets in the industry for, like, the last 20 years that this has been going on with these two particular people. This ain't resigned worthy. So why are you resigning?
Yeah, okay.
It may have something to do with the Chris Cuomo stuff. So Chris Cuomo was one of their Golden Boy anchors, who was the brother of Andrew Cuomo, who was the Golden Boy governor of, where was he?
New York.
Was he New York?
Yeah.
Okay, yep. Who killed grannies. So he got ousted. His brother got done for using his media contacts to try to find dirt on the women that were accusing Andrew Cuomo of sexual misconduct. Mm-hmm. So, and then it also came out.
Did you do it?
Look, if it, yeah,
Bros
for
before
bros, yeah, absolutely, 100%. But just don't pretend that you're not doing it.
Yeah, but when you get also, you should do it. But when you get popped for doing it, you deserve to lose your job.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so I'm putting it out there. When people out,
Wait, did I say when?
When?
Did I say when? That's not happening.
If and when Alex gets
my relationship
done
has been going
for sexual
longer than most
harassment,
marriages.
yeah, that is a good point. So if and when Alex gets accused of sexual harassment, I'll be trying to find dirt on that person. You heard it here first. But anyway, so Chris Cuomo already also got done for sexual harassment because he basically grabbed the ass of his boss's wife or something right in front of him at a Christmas party and was pretty much like, what are you going to do about it? So he got...
Someone should just punch him in the face.
Yeah. But he was the golden boy, right? He was protected.
Yeah.
So he got punted. But even better, 2 senior producers at CNN just recently lost their jobs for being pedophiles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, kind of a big deal. So CNN, the reason why I bring them up is because
of
virtue. That's right. They're the biggest virtue signaling organization in news media in the USA. And they're the sort of people who go at Joe... The funniest thing about anyone who goes at Joe Rogan is when they call him a right-wing conspiracy theorist. You've never listened to a podcast because he's as left-wing as they come.
Yeah.
Like, he is a leftist. He is definitely... But obviously, he believes in some things that some right-wing people do as well. Because do you know what? Most normal people believe in a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. We're entitled to believe in all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, exactly right. So... Yeah, that's going on at the moment. So maybe there's a reason why they're trying to saturate the airwaves with Joe Rogan to distract people from all this real shit that's going on.
Don't you think it's shocking? Because I had a conversation with someone this morning about... He knew about the truckers, but I'm like, have you seen any of it on mainstream media? And he goes, not as scary. Like,
yeah.
And that's... huge. Yet we know about there's a boy in a well in Morocco.
Oh, is there?
Right? So that's all over the news because that's a good news story. But you've got all these Canadians banding together, and there's some beautiful stories in there. Like
absolutely,
someone in the middle of the night went and put all this food on there for the truckers and on one of the trucks.
There was a GoFundMe page set up that's raised $10 million.
Oh, I didn't know that.
$10 million.
Yeah.
Elon...
What's the state? There's a state that's got no mandates in Canada.
I'm not sure.
That one guy sued. He sued it very early on, where he's like, you can't isolate the difference between... No, show me the difference between a positive COVID and positive flu and being able to identify it, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And therefore, that state has zero mandate.
It's interesting that you bring that up about differences. I saw a tweet during the week of Dr. Nick Coatsworth.
Oh yeah, he's gone ham.
Oh yeah, so anyone who doesn't know it, he used to be the Chief Health Officer of Australia until recently. Like, he was the CHO at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then he stood down, probably because he called bullshit on a lot of things that were going on.
Yeah.
And he just put a tweet up during the week about there was a study that came out in the US where they compared the COVID cases per 100,000 people of the states that enforce mask mandates compared to states that do not enforce mask mandates. And the states that enforce mask mandates had slightly higher cases per 100,000 than the states that didn't. Now, which meant essentially there was no statistical difference between the two.
Yeah.
So why are we still doing this shit? Right?
It's a game.
It is just a fucking game. Absolutely.
It's a game. And it's the kids stuff. I've seen some very young kids wrapped in masks.
Yep.
There's damage that we're doing that we will not realise for many years.
Yeah, 100%. And look, as a parent, it's something that I'm acutely aware of. My son, so the daycare that we send my son to, they're really, really great people. And they resisted doing the mask thing for as long as they possibly could. Hey, guess what? For some reason, Queensland government's just come through now and gone, they all got to wear masks. That entire place, I'm pretty sure every educator at that place has had COVID in the last 2 months. Because we always...
And everything else.
Yeah, well, we always get all the updates going, oh, we've got these many people out, so if it's possible, can you keep your kids at home today because we don't have enough educators, blah, blah, blah. Now... it swept through when they had the mask mandates and when they didn't. They were still getting COVID cases because guess what? You can still get COVID when you're wearing a mask.
I got to have half a day with your son last week.
Oh, yeah?
And when we went down the park for a play. No, sorry, when I first got there, I had my sunglasses on.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a bit of a apprehension there from him.
Yep.
You take the sunglasses off and his eyes light up, right? Because he can actually see you now.
That's right.
Well, that's super important. Like, if you can't tell that there's a difference between covering your mouth, and like I would consider myself a professional communicator.
Mm-hmm.
I look at people's mouths because I find I understand better as opposed to looking at someone's eyes.
Yep.
Right.
So even I struggle. I didn't tell you, I went to a Subway, no mask. She makes me go get one. Oh, fuck, righto. Go out, get a mask, come back. Can I order this? What?
Oh, man, yeah. But you see so much of that stuff. Mate,
but that kid stuff, so we know that communication is 70% visual. We know that.
Yeah, and how do you
we're going to take it away.
How do you think children learn to speak?
Yeah, it's mouth movement, it's shape.
So, like, one of the things that I found really funny when I first had Nate, well, not first had, because he obviously was on the milk, but when he started trying to eat solid food, and you realise you have to teach a kid how to chew and swallow. They don't know how to do that.
Yeah,
they don't know how to...
I wouldn't have guessed that.
No, you wouldn't have, right? You would have thought that... I mean, like, animals, like horses and shit, get born, they can run, like, straight away, right?
Straight away. Like,
this motherfucker, after 6 months, doesn't even know how to swallow, bro. So he, like, chews food up and just dribbles out the front of his mouth because he doesn't know how to swallow it. So you realise that, I mean, you do it without even thinking. I go like this, like, pretending I'm chewing and stuff, like when I'm teaching him to chew, because he's looking at my mouth to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
It's the same with speech. We have to move our mouth and our tongue and everything in a certain way to make certain sounds. Guess where kids learn that from?
Yeah.
They learn it from us. So
not Bluey.
Bluey's not too bad. As far as the mouth movements go, they're pretty accurate. But you're right. But the thing is, there have been studies...
Just watching anime.
There have been studies that have been coming out that are showing that children born during the pandemic have IQ levels 2 standard deviations lower than kids born before the pandemic.
Tasha sees it. Tasha goes, we're going to have a problem with this cohort that's gone
Absolutely.
through. Yeah.
And this is... Early cognitive development is the most important time for kids. Yeah. You never get that time back.
Yeah.
Like, they call it...
And for what?
Exactly.
For what? 0.1%.
Exactly, and
case to death rate.
But again, so that's talking about the actual case to death rate of COVID itself. When you actually look at masking and you look at that study, there is no difference between masking or unmasking. Yeah. And let's be real. How many of you out there get a new mask every single time?
I dropped my mask on the ground and accidentally stood on it, but then I had to put it on my face.
Yeah.
To walk into Aldi.
Mm-hmm. Like, everyone is reusing masks all the time.
I haven't washed that mask yet either.
Dude, I've never washed a mask. I put a mask on the other day because I was asked to do so again.
My cloth mask, which is the worst kind you can have, which they say like gives you stuff as opposed to protecting you from it, has got like a brown tinge in it. Yeah, like it's got gingivitis, and I don't have gingivitis, but my mask does.
Yeah, like it's
so yeah.
We're almost at an hour. We're doing all right. So. The thing about masks, the studies have come out, they show the masks don't do any trash. So throw them in the trash, throw them out. I've said this a million times before, but I'm going to say it again. Our government's inability to pivot they say follow the science. Oh, no, not that science, not the new stuff. Follow the stuff that we've been following the entire time that justifies what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
I would love to, I really want to see a Royal Commission at the end of this.
Yeah, even though they do nothing.
No, Royal Commissions do some things. It's what happens in the aftermath of them, which is normally wrong. Like the Banking Royal Commission, for example, did force some change. Did it necessarily benefit people? Not really.
The banks it did.
Yeah, eventually. But it did bring a lot of things to light. And at the end of the day, you would hope that if a Royal Commission exposes some things, that maybe it's the people who will be educated so that next time the governments try to pull the same bullshit, they'll be like, nah, not this time.
Sure.
That's all we can hope for.
Can we get a Royal Commission into the way that the media handled it?
Yeah, well, I mean, again...
We'll switch off. That's the easiest way. Just stop watching them.
Yeah, like...
Tash and I do it. We, as soon as the project comes on, we flick the channel just so there's no way that they could possibly get any data to say that we watch that show.
Yeah,
because it sucks.
But you're seeing a lot of this stuff too. Like, there's a lot of stuff in the news about these programs. Like, the project's been in the news a lot about how their ratings suck, and they're talking about cancelling them. Good. Like, bad products should be cancelled.
100%.
And that is
even with the tax rebate, are they still going to not survive?
Yeah.
That would suck to get $120 million and still fail.
Exactly. But that's...
a portion of $120 million.
Yeah. But that's the whole benefit about what we're talking about before with this podcasting 2.0 and being able to stream, Satoshis directly to the content creators that you like. At the end of the day, that is the logical step forward for us to actually have a better society.
Absolutely.
Shows like The Project have only been running because they've already got advertising deals in place. That's it. If those advertising deals went away, The Project would be canned. any advertising on online media, on YouTube, YouTube itself is almost a meritocracy. Obviously, there's some algorithm stuff that is at play there as well. But at least with YouTube, if you subscribe to someone and you click the notification bell, like you should on this, it will alert you when new content comes up from the people that you follow. It's not like the Facebook thing, like we said before, where you can have 300,000 followers but have to pay extra to reach all of those followers. And that you won't even reach all of them anyway.
Yeah.
So at least there is some form of meritocracy still on YouTube. And that is, I think that's a step forward. And then the next step forward is going to be you guys actually directly paying in extremely small amounts direct to the content creators that you enjoy. I like what
that's my vision of Web 3.0. That's what I was saying.
Right.
A blockchain, decentralized internet, where people have consensus. So some form of buy-in to whatever they're involved in. Because imagine a social media site where you're paying for as much or as little as what it is. You're not going to go on there to shit on people.
Yeah.
You're going to invest your time and effort and funds into a place or a space where you get value.
Yeah, you get enjoyment.
Yeah.
Like, you're right. It's with social media now, it is people who are addicted to outrage. They want to be outraged. That's why people get addicted to it, and they go on there and they get into arguments on Twitter.
There's no gateway to just get on it. Get free and get angry.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, exactly right.
Whereas give you the tip, when you pay to get in the movie world, you have a ball.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And you're like, I need to get the most out of my money.
But if you're in the car park looking for fights,
it's not going to end well. No, that's a really, really good point. And that's the thing. It's about having that shifting mentality. Like one of the online programs I love watching is the Kyle Dunnigan show. Oh. Shout out to Kyle Dunnigan and his crew. It is the funniest shit, and it's so ridiculous, but it's hilarious.
It's so good.
But the thing I love about watching it is you see during the show, and they obviously flash them up on purpose, but you see people making the live donations whilst they watch the live show. Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. That's the way that it should be.
Value for value.
Value for value. Like, they give you the value of entertainment that you really enjoy, and you give them value back in whatever way you can with what you can afford to be able to keep the program up and running and continuing, and everybody wins.
And I like that interactivity part where someone puts a good joke on there and we can all laugh. We all benefit from that. Because all I see social media for is jokes. I put jokes up there, like things that I think are funny.
Yep.
I put up there. And I don't get into any conversation with people because there's no point. There's no point.
I do sometimes.
I got roasted. I listed that Lexus. I've got a 2003 Lexus IS 300. Everyone knows the shape.
Yep.
They sold lots of them. Good car. IS 200 is the common one.
Yep.
I reckon 90% of the cars around are IS 200s.
Yep.
Mine's an IS 300, which has a legendary 2JZ 3-litre inline 6. Okay, very special engine. It's the engine that's in Supras and non-turbo version. So bulletproof, right? And in my description it says a very rare IS 300. I've been in the car industry for 18 years.
Yeah.
Ask me how many IS 300s I've seen.
One.
This is the one.
Yeah.
Right. This is the only one I've ever seen in the flesh. Okay, and I own it. So I put it up there, very rare. And I accidentally shared it when I put it on Marketplace with a site called Kate's JDM page. I got the car up for 14 grand. Roasted.
Because everyone thought it was nice too.
Yeah, they don't know, but there's no point in arguing with them because they won't know. Then the very next post after me was someone selling a Toyota engine. It was a special engine, non-turbo engine, for $23,000. And everyone was like, thumbs up. You guys are fucking idiots. Like, that's what, but there's no point in, like, you can't say that. You can't say, okay, I'm giving you a car and an engine.
Yeah.
This engine is arguably as good as the engine that just has this special branding on it.
Yeah.
But this is how nuts that page is. Now, in 3.0, guess what? I'm never going to interact with that page.
Yeah.
Ever. We're never going to cross paths. And that is a better place to be.
Yeah.
Right? That is a better place on the internet than just getting
roasted
Yeah.
by idiots. They are idiots. They don't even know what they're talking about. I've got the knowledge, right? But there's no point in imparting that with them, because then what happens? Oh, you're a dickhead.
Yeah.
Cool, dude.
What are you, a doctor?
Right. It's the same thing. So
Yeah, the whole outrage thing is...
no one will pay to get outraged.
No,
It's like, would you, those college students, are they paying for tickets to go see these speakers that they want to throw stuff at? Or is it
Probably.
a free campus one?
Oh, I don't know, because...
I just don't know another scenario where you'd pay to just have the shits.
No, because for a lot of those college kids, they get the payoff in social clout. That's why they do it.
Cloud.
'Cause-
I'm going to do a website here. I want a clout bash. Your clout sucks.
No, look...
Web 3.0 is going to take away a lot of clout, I think.
I don't think so. I just think that it will allow people to interact with communities that appreciate them instead of communities that don't.
Yeah.
And that's a really positive thing.
Yeah.
Because everyone has different interests, and like your example there about the Toyota engine thing, people can be in love with that engine. That's totally cool. It's no drama. Like, people like what they like. But it's when these different interests collide with each other, which is when you get this sort of conflict. Whereas because obviously you've got all different interests. You've got a whole range of different interests. Like, you love cars, you love crypto. So cars would traditionally be like a meathead type thing that, aggressive men are into. Crypto would typically be a geeky thing that geeks and computer people are into. Those two groups do not compute generally, but you as an enthusiast in both should be able to interact with your car group over here and your crypto group over here, and you get involved with like-minded individuals, and you all have a great time. That's what it should be. But it's when you try to integrate those two groups together that you're going to have dramas.
Yeah.
Because people don't respect people that are into things that they don't like.
And that's why you need to have some form of consensus. And the consensus is you need to bring something to that environment, and that is in the form of tokens in that space. So you have shown your cards. I'm willing to be in this ecosystem, and this is what I pledge to this ecosystem.
But that's how it works in the real world. So when you for example, early, like when we were teenagers and stuff, and you guys...
I've got the counter example. So if you give your example, I'll give you the counter example.
Or even in early 20s and stuff like that, I would hang out with you and your mates, and all they spoke about was cars.
Yeah.
And I don't give a fuck about cars.
Yeah.
So I just opt out of the conversation, because I've got nothing to offer.
Yeah.
If this was the internet, like, someone in my position would opt in and call everyone else a dickhead.
Yeah. So it's like,
right?
like a couple of guys, like a group of people having a nice barbecue, and then just sort of walking up across the park going, hey, fuck you guys.
Exactly.
That's what the internet has become.
Yeah,
but there is a way out. It's ending.
That is why Facebook is dying.
Yeah.
Because I think people are...
$230 billion. 30% drop in the year.
Yeah.
So I think this drop was 25%, but they already dropped 5%.
Yeah.
So it was already looking bad.
And it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse, because you're right. Like, I think that... Look, the algorithm's their number one problem, because it puts people in their own echo chambers and it encourages conflict. And early on, conflict is good early, because a small amount of conflict, people pay attention. And that's what that industry is all about. It's about vying for people's attention. Yeah, right, there you go. So here, just hold that up to the camera. But the thing is, when conflict gets too prevalent, there is a large percentage of people in society who are completely conflict averse. They move away from it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're at a pub and a fight breaks out, most people don't walk towards a fight. The majority of people try to get away from it. And it's exactly the same with social media. People do not want to get involved in conflicts. Therefore, if every time they log on, they are exposed to conflict, they end up just switching off. And we're starting to see that.
The way I see it is if you had a profile, if you ran a bar, right, of like, let's just say it's from left to right.
Yeah.
Okay. And you could fit anywhere across this line. Mm-hmm. Those interactions that you're seeing on the internet are the people on the far side.
That's right.
Of each side arguing each other. But if you're a centrist
and you get into that, you're just going to see these people fighting and think, man, this sucks.
And the difficulty is that you've got people on both sides, the far left and the far right, trying to appeal to the centrists to get them to come over. And the only way that people, because they're not having an actual nuanced debate about things, they don't realise that the ways they're going about trying to appeal to the centrists, just they turn the centrists off.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you play the man, as you invite them to play you back, and then no one's perfect, so everybody loses.
Yeah.
And nothing moves forwards.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
we've got everything to lose, nothing to gain.
Exactly. And again, that's why...
Now, the only thing you had to gain on social media before is to get your audience. Well, you're going to pay for your audience.
Exactly right. Yeah. So, like, I've said it a million times before, I would probably be off Facebook if we didn't have the podcast, because we do still get a little bit of cut through on Facebook when it comes to episodes being up, and it's not every episode, but it's certain ones, like that Should I Vaccinate My Children one, that got massive cut through on Facebook. So it is a semi-useful tool for now, but pretty soon it won't be. And it's dying its own death because they haven't pivoted. Like, they put algorithms in place that worked to a great extent to get engagement, and then they naturally will end up going too far. It's what happens with these like machine learning algorithms. They just take, okay, this thing worked, I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do it bigger. Okay, it worked even more, so I'm going to do it again, I'm going to do it bigger. No. And it goes, and it ramps itself up to a point where all of a sudden it's too much.
No, I think the algorithm can work, but they put the wrong parameters in it, because the problem with Facebook is that their goal does not align with the user's goals. That's the problem.
Yeah.
If the algorithm was if Facebook got paid more to make people happy, then the algorithm would be skewed that way.
Yeah.
But their only metric is eyes on, and they've realised that the best way to get eyes on is to have you outraged.
Yeah, because human beings naturally look for threats.
Yeah, so
and we pay attention to threats.
That is, they could change that. They could change the algorithm to realise what positive enforcement you're getting, what positive interaction. They could do it, but it doesn't
probably
get paid.
Won't. That's right.
They definitely won't. It doesn't get it paid, so they won't. And that's why, like, someone's already been accused of being raped in the metaverse, sexually assaulted in the metaverse. Okay, and what do you think you're going to get?
Can you explain that story?
So, a lady claimed that she went to an online space in the metaverse and was groped against her will by other avatars. Now, at the RDO podcast, we do not condone any of that sort of
non-consensual groping.
Yeah,
we
but
very much condone consensual groping, but
consensual
non-consensual
groping good.
Non-consensual anything bad.
Yeah. Now, what do you expect? Okay, so the metaverse was made by a guy who can't assimilate in the real world.
Yeah.
So, but it happens to also be a multi-billionaire and therefore has the means to create another universe that he thinks he can be cool in. What's he going to do in that world? Grow. Have you not seen Westworld?
I haven't watched Westworld.
Dude, you got to watch Westworld.
Right.
Westworld, where you could go to a world that had avatars and robots around that looked like people, and you could do whatever you want with no consequences.
Right.
Do you think people would just sit around having a conversation?
No.
Of course not.
They would have done the worst things that you could. Murder, rape, the lot.
Bingo. That's episode 1.
Right.
Okay? So, that's the metaverse. I'm telling you, that's what the metaverse is going to be. Now, will I have a go in the metaverse? Oh, sure, I'll have a look. I'll give the tip. I'm not investing $1 freaking dollar. I'm not buying one of those headsets. And I'm disappointed at the guy that's heading it, that's the boss of Oculus, is the creator of Doom, John Carmack.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I find him an extremely intelligent man. I don't think that's his vision.
Mate, I really hope, because John Carmack is an old school nerd, right? He's an old school nerd. Was at the end of Doom 2 that when you kill the icon of sin and then you
find the severed head of John Romero.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, that's old school nerd shit. So what I'm hoping is this. The metaverse would be cool if they got everyone on board under the false pretenses that it was going to be this awesome space to interact with leftists, because that's all it's going to be on there, and then next minute he just turns on the doom switch and it's just demons attacking you from all sides. That would be sick. I'd invest $1 into that.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I like that. I like that. And I think on that note...
All right, let's leave it there. Thanks very much for joining us, guys, and we'll see you next RDO.